I will never forget the first time that I played The Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo, the original Nintendo. I couldn't tell you what age I was. It was sometime in the 80s. But at my house, the only thing I had for a while was just Mario. The original Super Mario Brothers that came with the system, and that was it. And it was my dad's, so I didn't get to play it too often. But when I would get to go over to my aunt's house and was with my cousins and stuff, they always had a ton of games, and they always had the cool ones. And a lot of my memories actually come from being over at their place and playing them. And I remember one day going over there, and my cousin Mike brought out his stack of games, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to play. And I think I had one of those moments where I think everybody who has been in that situation before kind of has the same, like, whoa moment. You look at the stack of games, and obviously what jumps out at you? It's the gold cartridge. So I was like, that one. Let's play that one. What is it? Oh, it's Zelda. It was awesome. Absolutely loved it. I don't remember when I got it. Eventually I did, obviously. It was probably my dad seeing us play it and being like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know. Or maybe it was simply like, oh, I want the gold one. One of those. So, but eventually we did get it, and I played the hell out of it. Funny thing, I never beat it until recently, for this review specifically. I played around a lot with it, but I never actually finished it. I think I may have gotten to the final level a few times, but I could never find my way through it. And I finally did. And I thought I'd make a video on whether it's actually still worth it. So, is it as good as I remember? Let's find out. I can't tell you how many times as a kid I ran around Hyrule as Link in the original Legend of Zelda. It went the same way every time. I'd pop the game in, grab the sword, and run around the overworld until I hit every spot that I knew of that held some secret that I could access right away with little effort. A heart piece, a fairy fountain, a burning bush. Once I felt ready, I'd make my way to level 1, the first dungeon. Unfortunately, by that time, I'd typically start to hit a wall with my attention span, so I'd only make it to around level 2 before saving and turning the game off. Then I'd come back again in a day or two and play a little more, and typically repeat this process until around level 5 or 6, when I would just lose interest and stop altogether until my next playthrough weeks or months later, when I'd just start over again. Playing again this time after so many years had passed, I was surprised at how much I remembered just from playing the first few levels so long ago. I remembered the extra heart piece by blowing up the wall near the beach, the locations of level 1 through 6, and how to get the sword and armor upgrades all off the top of my head. As I played, I realized what it was that made me love this game so much in the first place growing up, even though I had never actually finished it. It was the sense of adventure and accomplishment from getting a new item that would allow you to unlock the next part of said adventure. There were no trivial aspects. Each individual detail of the game had its purpose, and it was up to you to find out what it was, in order to lead you to the next area where you would look for another piece of the puzzle. It was this formula that would continue to define Zelda's series and influence other games in many years to come. The story from the original Legend of Zelda always eluded me beyond simply knowing Ganon is out there, go take him down. I knew Zelda was a princess somewhere, and that the Triforce was split into a bunch of pieces that I was trying to collect, and that I was Link, the hero of Hyrule. Heck, I'm not afraid to admit that I didn't even realize for the first few times that I played that if you waited for a few seconds on the main title screen, you can get a quick story rundown as the screen scrolls, which was probably a result of my own impatience as a child. All grown up and with the internet at my disposal, I can see that I wasn't wrong for the most part. The story of this game is really close to being just that simple. Ganon is out there, and Princess Zelda was the one who split the Triforce into 8 pieces that you, as Link, have to gather, just so Ganon couldn't get his hands on it. I'll be honest when I say even today, I'm still not all that in love with the story. I don't hate it or feel in any way negative about it, but more so just indifference. The story was never really the reason I kept coming back. It was finding that next item, power-up, or secret. Truth be told, I play the other Zelda games for the same reasons, and it wasn't even until Wind Waker that I actually had a moment of, oh wow, so that's what that is. The gameplay is where Zelda truly shines. It screams adventure. And even with the NES graphics, I still felt like I was on this grand quest to become strong enough to overcome all the challenges that the game had to offer. Each of the 8 dungeons is its own unique puzzle, with traps, enemies, and treasure. The items you get from one dungeon will help you access and traverse the dungeons to come. With this style of gameplay, the whole entire world of Hyrule becomes its own puzzle to solve, where you have to figure out what you need in order to reach the next area and find that new item. This is easily my favorite aspect of the game. If I had one complaint, it would be the controls. Not that they're bad by any means, especially for when the game originally released. It's perfect with the regular A, B, and D-pad controller. I think what got to me was having been spoiled in all the years after this game came out. Using other control schemes that gave me more of a feeling like I had more options in the way my character moved, via additional buttons and thumbsticks that would let me walk in more directions than simply up, down, left, and right. That being said, I'm totally aware that this is a minor nitpick, because it obviously wasn't a complaint I had when the game was originally released, but mainly a result of improvements by newer games and better hardware over the years. The visuals in The Legend of Zelda look fantastic for an original Nintendo game. The enemies are clear and easy to see, the landscape and features are defined, and the dungeons, while similar in appearance, do offer variety in layout and design, especially in the later parts of the game. On a personal note, I love that the items you find are all clearly recognizable and feel important simply due to how they look. It's hard to put into words, but there's something about seeing that raft or ladder on the screen and running towards it, knowing you're about to grab an item that's going to open up a whole slew of possibilities for you. I got that feeling every time I found a new item. Koji Kondo knocked it out of the park when writing the music for this game. From the opening screen to the world map to the dungeons, each piece feels as though it was written for that particular aspect. Find me one person who hears the dungeon music for the original Legend of Zelda and doesn't think of walking room to room looking for secrets in an underground labyrinth. While over the years I've found other composers an example of music from games that I like better, the soundtrack from the original Legend of Zelda is still one of the first that I can remember feeling as though it truly belonged in that world, and could not enjoy the game anywhere near as much if anything else had been used. Being that this was the first time I ever actually finished the game, I was blown away by how well it held up. Playing what I remembered up until around level 6, when things started to get a bit fuzzy, was as fun as I remembered, and going beyond that kept me engaged because I was determined to finish not only this game from my childhood, but what is also such an iconic piece of video game history. Anyone who's a nostalgia nerd like me when it comes to video games has most likely already played this game. However, if you haven't played it in a few years, I encourage you to give it another shot, just to see for yourself what you remember and how far you can get before needing some hand-holding that so many newer games tend to offer nowadays. For those that have never played this game before, I wholeheartedly recommend trying it out. If you're a Zelda fan and want to see where it got its roots, or if you're just someone looking to try something old that's new to you, the Land of Hyrule has something to offer adventurers of all ages.